Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is MB12 for Monday, March 26, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, Abaco residents devastated after 4 second homeowners were killed in a fatal plane crash yesterday. Parliamentarians clash on the government's Mayaguana land take-back. Police crack a housebreaking ring in eastern New Providence, and regional fisheries officials discuss threats to the industry. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your NV12 starts right now. Thanks for joining us. We have more details about that tragic plane crash in Treasure Key, Abaco that claimed the lives of 4 people who were leaving the island after a visit yesterday. Our Paige Ferguson headed up to the crash site today. She tells us that the Treasure Key community is still in shock after the horrifying ordeal. She also got this update from the island's police. Here's her report.
The plane went down in this area about 2 miles west of the Treasure Key International Airport. Today, you can still see the debris of that plane scattered throughout the area. Over there is the plane's propeller and engine in the spot where it first landed. And also today, you can still smell the scent of the charred remains lingering in the air. The bodies of the 4 passengers on board that single-engine 6-seater Piper aircraft were burnt beyond recognition. At the scene, the area surrounding the crash was charred. Police say the aircraft exploded into flames upon impact. The victims have been identified by police as 60-year-old Gregory and 50-year-old Janice Schwarzenberger of Neptune Beach, Florida, and 61-year-old Dennis and 56-year-old Janie Sartoris of Jacksonville, Florida. According to golf course manager of the Treasure Key Resort where they frequented, Stephen Pettican, who was at the scene last night, both couples were well known and loved in the Treasure Key community, which is now trying to cope with their sudden and tragic deaths.
They're very well known in the community, very friendly people, like to do a lot of boating and fishing. There are friends of mine who spoke to them just minutes before they took off yesterday. They were preparing to leave. And they stopped by and told a friend of mine, Chris Roberts, we'll see you because they're coming back. The second homeowners there, they're very sad about what had happened. Because, the Treasure Key is a tight-knit community. When you have functions, everybody comes out, support it. And if you don't know one another, you get to know one another. So somehow you come into contact with one another, and then you develop a relationship.
Police are now handing the case over to the Department of Civil Aviation, which will attempt to determine the cause of the crash. Officer in charge of the Marsh Harbor Police Station, Superintendent Noel Curry, said wind may have been a factor.
At this time, we have not determined the cause, but I can say that in the area at the time there was some strong prevailing winds, which we believe may have contributed to the accident.
Pettigan said the couples had been at their homes in Treasure Key for about a month visiting. They were returning to Florida Sunday when the plane crashed minutes after takeoff. However, according to Pettigan, Greg and Janice were planning on returning to Treasure Key in just a month for their son's wedding.
Greg Jr., was about to get married next month sometime in May. Unfortunately, he had to get the sad news that, he lost his parents in the crash.
MB12 spoke with a friend and business partner of the 4 victims who was too distraught to speak on camera. He said he's been in touch with the victims' families and they are in disbelief. According to police, the burnt bodies of 2 dogs were also removed from the wreckage. According to Superintendent Curry, although their bodies were also badly burnt, officers were able to read instructions on the dogs' tags that they be buried in the Bahamas.
Who came in contact with them, whenever you saw the couples, the dogs, they were on the golf cart with them. So, and the dog always was, traveling with them, so you saw the dog, that they were animal lovers and whatnot. Just downright nice people.
All of the bodies were taken from the scene to the Marsh Harbor Clinic and then transported to the morgue in Nassau for further examination.
We also wanted to pay homage to the deceased persons and also remember their family. And while we were at the scene, we spoke with Pastor Stephen Knowles, who's the Abaco Christian Council's president, and he was able to say a prayer for us remembering the deceased persons and also their family and relatives and loved ones.
The families of the victims are said to be en route to Abaco to view the crash site and to also claim their belongings. Reporting from Abaco, I'm Paige Ferguson.
Well, 51 illegal Haitian migrants are awaiting repatriation at the Carmichael Road Detention Center tonight. They were apprehended Sunday in waters near the edge of Hopetown near Elbow Key. Immigration Superintendent Arneth Roll-Hanna says their officers spotted the 48 males and 3 females around 4:30 yesterday afternoon.
About 5:45 yesterday afternoon, we received a call from Corporal 1964 Smith, who is the OC in charge of Hopetown. He had some information that a Haitian sloop was anchored just off Elbow Key. Upon his investigation, it was discovered migrants on board. Hence, the vessel was towed into the ferry dock about 6 p.m.
The immigrants were all crammed inside a 34-foot sailboat named the Vela Dos. It was taken to the Abaco ferry dock. Roll-Hanna said the immigrants were in fairly good condition except for 1 or 2 who were dehydrated.
There was one male that we had to take out by stretcher. The medical team checked him out at the Marshaba station, yes, and he was later released.
Well, the government has found at least 1 case of malaria in Exuma. Health Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis confirmed that to our news team this evening, though he didn't have many details. Again, 1 confirmed case of malaria in Exuma tonight. Ministry of Health officials tell us that the infected party is a visitor who has already returned home. The gender and age of that person is still unknown. You can pick up a copy of the Nassau Guardian tomorrow for more details. That modified heads of agreement the government signed with the I Group last month is currently being debated in the House of Assembly. Under the new agreement, the government reclaimed more than half of the land transferred to the I Group back in 2006. During the morning session, it was revealed that while Mayaguana residents supported the development, they felt the PLP government was transferring too much Crown land. Despite those fears, government MPs say the PLP went ahead with the deal anyway. Fanique Toot reports.
As parliamentarians began debating the amended heads of agreement between the government and the I Group today, a government member of parliament accused the Christie administration of ignoring concerns expressed by some Mayaguana residents about that development. Back in 2006, the PLP government inked a deal that provided for the transfer of nearly 10,000 acres of Crown land on Mayaguana. Blue Hills MP Sidney Cawley told parliamentarians today that a town meeting was held in January 2005 to get residents' views. He says 50 people attended that meeting, and their chief concern was the amount of land being transferred.
As a result of the meeting, the I Group is asking, it was found that the I Group is asking for too much prime land when regard is had to the proposed small amount of initial investment. Curtis Creek is a natural marine habitat and nursery for sensitive maritime life and should be set aside exclusively as a marine reserve. None of Curtis Creek should be included in the proposed development. The prime beaches are located on the northern shore of the island, and it appears that all of it is to be included in the proposed development.
Cawley says the PLP government signed an agreement knowing residents were concerned about certain aspects of it. Despite residents' calls for Curtis Creek to be excluded from the proposed development zone, Minister of State for Finance Shavargo Lang says under the original agreement, residents would have been boxed into the interior of the island, and the I Group would have had access to environmentally sensitive land.
If you take Pirates Wells under the original agreement, Pirates Wells would have had no opportunity to expand west or east, and would only have had opportunity to expand south. And what is south? South is swampland. We have clawed back. We've taken off the table their ability to have access to environmentally sensitive land. Environmentally sensitive land, such as is found in Curtis Creek, which is a turtle nesting ground, an area, very sensitive area.
Progressive Liberal Party MP V. Alfred Gray, who represents Mayaguana residents in Parliament, accused Colley of being a stranger to the truth. Colley insinuated that residents reached out to him to voice their concerns about the I-Group development. However, Gray insisted that then Prime Minister Perry Christie approached Colley, who was deputy leader of the Free National Movement at the time. Gray said Mr. Christie's goal was to ensure that residents were involved in the process.
Government led by Perry Gladstone Christie was meticulously careful over a 2-year negotiating period to be sure that whatever was signed was agreed to by the Mayaguana people, the Hotel Corporation, and the I-Group. And that is why when Blue Hills got up and talked about his being involved on his own initiative, Mr. Speaker, nothing could be further than the truth.
The first phase of the Mayaguana development will include the construction of an airstrip, an airport terminal, marina, and 25-room boutique hotel. The second phase entails the construction of a $50 to $75 million luxury resort on Mayaguana. The original development was expected to cost $1.8 billion. However, it's not clear whether that developer will still invest that amount. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
During his contribution to the debate, Blue Hills MP Sidney Colley accused the Christie administration of what he termed the most scandalous and corrupt practice in the granting of Crown land in Mayaguana. He alleged that the PLP government granted Crown land to 5 people who were not from Mayaguana in September 2006, but denied at least 4 applications submitted by Mayaguana residents.
When it came to the grant of Crown land in Mayaguana, will the Right Honorable Member for Farm Road and Centerville and the member for McCall explain to the people in Mayaguana who live in Mayaguana and who have lived there all their lives the reasons for and the circumstances by which Crown land was granted to strangers while persons from Mayaguana who lived there could not get any Crown land?